y'all, this is AL Thick Madame, and this is the recap review for The Family Business. Y'all, this is the second to the last episode. It done already started off with a bang, so let's go ahead and get into this video. Okay, so they have Elsie Duncan, his nephew Nevada, Rio, and Charlotte. They are all in this van that's blacked out, and they are getting some drones going because they want to see what is going on. They have found the location. Hopefully it really is the location, y'all. And so I think Rio and Nevada are the ones who are manning the drones right now. Y'all, they done went to the next scene and we see Brother Elijah inside of the building that hopefully they really are looking at with the drones. And he's sitting next to this guy who we've seen him from time to time, but like the side of his face is like burned or something. And he was talking to him and he was like, you know, you are, out of all the brothers, you are my closest friend. I trust you the most out of everybody. I love you. And he was like, I love you too. So he was like, old boy let him know that that man was bringing the car to the house. He said, I've been trying to call Brother Xavier. He hasn't been answering his phone. Well, I was right, you guys. I was right. Brother Elijah done went in the room where Sasha was at, off rip, where she was actually pacing back and forth, because it's like, if you are a person like her, I'm pretty sure you could tell when it's getting kind of thick. He had already left the room, the most of them went down, and I guess it took too long for him to come back, so she's pacing back and forth, not knowing what's going on. So he came in the room, off rip, wasn't no conversation. He walked up to her and kissed her so terrible. I was like, ah. And this was not a dream. I was like, you better do that, Brother Elijah. And so she was like, what was all that for? And he was like, look, I don't have time to explain. And Brother Xavier knows that you are Sasha Duncan. So she really was still trying to play that game. Like, she don't know what he talking about. Why would you think that? He was like, you can cut all that out. I know you are Sasha Duncan. I have known that you were Sasha before we even captured you, because I was watching the house 3 months after everything went down with Brother Xavier. So I already knew what it was. I've seen you dozens of times. So I know that you are Sasha Duncan. Oh my gosh. And so she was like kind of emotional. Was like, what did you tell me? I was like, oh my gosh, girl, who cares? As you can tell, this man is not going to let you get killed. It is apparent that y'all have chemistry, as I've already said before. So, oh my gosh. The dude that he trusts the most out of everybody in the brotherhood walked in the room and saw them kissing. Oh, Lord. Oh, my gosh. He was like, Brother Elijah, what are you doing? It was, you know, about to draw that weapon. He had to go ahead and put him down. I was like, oh, my gosh, no. Because he was, you know, in the middle of asking her, is she ready? You know what I'm saying? To pull the gun out and everything. And he was just like, I don't know if this was destined or not, but I'm just like, somebody please do something, because I don't know what's going on. This is so good, y'all. Oh my gosh. I cannot. I was not expecting all this to go down in the first 3 minutes of that. Like, how long it's been? Probably 2-3 minutes. I'm like, y'all done went off in the beginning already. Y'all, the most is going down. I'm just like, oh my God. Y'all, the suspense, every single scene. Okay, so Paris is on top of a building sniping people. And so this has allowed Orlando to be able to have a way to get inside, because everybody who was around the perimeter had been killed. So they going in. So Sasha and Brother Elijah are making their way through the building, getting out the building, right? They literally just went out of the garage. They went into another little section on the side of the garage. They were just in the garage. Like, if you see it, you would understand why I'm saying the way I'm saying it. Anyway, the person, LoJack, who's supposed to come with the car, and came in the garage. And so one of the brothers from the Brotherhood was like, is that you, LoJack? Get out of the car, LoJack. Is that you? I kept looking at the silhouette. I was like, that looked like Bay. It was Bay. It was Junior, y'all. Junior, the guy that killed him and killed all these other people. It was a little shootout moment. Junior set it off and let the family know that, you know, it is what it is. It has been secured. And so they was like, welcome back, son. So then they peeked from around the corner and Brother Elijah killed somebody. And I'm like, I know you ain't killed Bay. I feel like that person was a little bit too small to be Bay, because I know he done lost weight over the years and he been keeping it off, but I don't think that was him. And I was right. So I was like, okay, good, because I thought I had to set it off. Okay, y'all. So anyway, They still going through the building. And I was wrong, y'all, earlier. I'm sorry. I think it's so dark. I thought that was the same person. The person who started was another person of the Brotherhood. It was not the man who had the burn on his face. Y'all, he is definitely an ally. He is on, apparently he done told him the whole plan. He is along for the ride. He trying to help them get away. He told him earlier, go and make sandwiches and some pineapple juice so that we can get her, ready to go. But the way they worded it, it made it seem like he was leading him to go do this while he was gonna go and free Sasha. But he really was doing it for them to all be able to survive while they on the run. Because they're gonna make sandwiches and have the pineapple juice or whatever. Oh, Lord, y'all. Okay. Let me get my life together. Okay, so a lot of people ran up on them, started shooting, and very, very familiar faces of people who are with the Brotherhood rolled up, and they saw Elijah had a moment with him, and somebody wounded him. He done got shot in like the abdomen or the leg or somewhere in the torso. Looked like he got shot, Brother Elijah. But the dude who had the locks, it's a dude that has been accompanying him a lot of the time when he goes to see Sasha, that's a part of the Brotherhood. He rolled up on him. They had a little conversation. He ended up, trying to shoot at him and things. And Orlando ended up killing him while he was trying to talk old boy off the ledge. Well, he rolled up, and like all of they people, the security team from the Duncan family, they done all rolled up and surrounding them. Sasha's like, hey, no. No, I mean, she is shielding her men, her man and his assistant. And he was like, Orlando was like, Sasha, get out the way. And so she was like, listen to me. Trying to talk him down to help him understand that, yes, they are part of the Brotherhood, but they have helped her to escape and all this other stuff. Orlando told her, you need to make a choice. And she was like, she woman up and stood there and shielded both of them. And Orlando was like, you gotta be kidding me. So then he ended up radioing in into his daddy and was like, we got Sasha and we got two of the Brotherhood too. And so it was like, we're going to leave out. So then somebody appeared from nowhere, one of these other people from the Brotherhood, and they ended up in a shootout a little bit again. And then Junior got wounded. He got like shot in the arm. And so they told them that, why did y'all tell Charlotte that her child got shot? She just set it all the way off and then got out the van and went to find where he was at and killed the people who was near him. And because all of a sudden, because he was on the ground like bleeding out, he was like this with the arm, and she came from out of nowhere and shot it up, and then like she was done. Everybody went and gathered him and everybody else and escorted everybody out the building. Y'all, it is going down. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Well, the main person who need to be dead is wandering around with this big old knife. He done had a knife for like the last 2 episodes, and I'm like, you a crazy fool. Like apparently he been going around stabbing these people up. The people, the group of Duncans who ain't got nothing to do with this family, he done went around, he been killing people. I think that's how he been killing people or whatever. Yeah, he been doing the most, but he wandering around with a knife now. And I'm like, hopefully he don't get the LC. Hopefully some people are still on the lookout, because my thing is this, if you ain't killed the leader, you still need to be on the lookout. Ain't nobody got time. So, whoo, child, y'all, the most went down. The most has gone down. Okay, so old girl was like, well, I normally hear from Junior by now. And then like as soon as she said that, he ended up calling her. So she was like, okay, what's going on? What happened? Whatever. And so she was like, did you all find Sasha? And he was like, yeah, we got Sasha. And so she was like, okay. And I mean, he really was, talking. And then eventually he let her know that she, she'll see him in a little while, but he got to stop by and get stitched up first because he caught a bullet in the arm. And so she is done. She's like, what you mean? And she needed to know whether or not he saw her husband or whatever. And he was like, I don't know if he was there or not. She was like, no, if he was there, you would have seen him. You would have known. And he was like, we couldn't stay there for long. We couldn't stay back. So there were bodies everywhere. So we didn't have a chance to really check and see what was going on. But yeah, I'm with her. Like, if he was there, you would have known. The way he acts, you would know that fool was there. Whoo, child. So they in the house. Sasha is in the room where the doctor has Elijah's body, and he, had the bullet removed or whatever, but it's gonna be touch and go. He lost a whole lot of blood. Ain't no telling if he gonna die. I really hope he lived, because this man might be who Sasha needed. You know what I'm saying? To kind of help her through stuff, because he is really able to get through to her, and she needs that stability. She needs that emotional support that she's never gotten from her mama. He is really here for her, despite the fact of her being a nice looking person. I really feel like the chemistry is amazing, and it just needs to work out in her favor, because I think she gonna turn really, 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 really cold if that man end up dying. Ooh, child. But yeah, Junior ain't really trying to hear nothing what she talking about as far as that is concerned. And he was like, well, hopefully he'll end up drawing his last breath. I was like, oh God, Junior, no. But yeah, Sasha ain't trying to hear nothing negative. Don't talk about Bay like that. Don't talk about him. Child, Sasha is in that room going all the way off on Junior, because Junior is like, he is not the only one who has to pay. He is not the only one who has to pay. Xavier is not the only one who has to pay. And she was like, he saved my life. He saved my life. He saved my life again. You don't understand. He killed the man who was trying to rape me. So yeah, that was Brother Samuel, y'all. It was so dark. First of all, I ain't got my glasses on. So, and it was dark. So I'm like, dang, who was that? But yeah, that's who it was that he ended up killing, who came in that room, y'all. So my bad. It wasn't the dude, like I said earlier, who had the burn on his face. But yeah, she had to set it off and was like, and let both of them know, LC and Junior. She was like, I do not have Stockholm Syndrome or nothing like that. He saved my life. And da-da-da. So LC had to kind of diffuse the situation, because they was really getting into it. Like, she was like, if you try to kill him, you're going to have to kill me first. I'm like, oh my God. Girl, you don't wear all the way off. He fine, though. He is fine. He fine, so I understand, girl. But anyway, she just set it off. And so LC was like, okay, so will this work? As far as, you could just stay here just in case. And if he comes around and becomes conscious, we can talk to him and see what he knows, see what he has to say. But, let her be here by herself, do what she's going to do. So they left the room and let her be in there. Child, I'm just like, oh my God. The person whose name I kept forgetting, Alexander and his wife, the woman who came in with the diamonds, Dominique, they were outside shooting. And they eventually started talking after they're done shooting. And she was like, everything went well when I went and visited the Jewish man in New York. And the only thing is that there's an obstacle that we're going to have to face, and that is Senior Cruz. And, he done read, and he was like, well, he's a commoner, because he, he's like over these drug cartels in Mexico. And she was like, what I told you about looking down on people. He was like, well, I am who did he say? I'm a Spaniard. I can't help it, or something he said. I'm like, sir, what they got to do with anything? Like, he really be literally jumping the gun. But anyway, she was like, look, do whatever you're going to do. You work 20 hours a day, 6 days a week. Sunday, you better be here for dinner. It's funny how they went from business to personal real quick. And he was like, I'll do my best. And she was like, your best is not acceptable, because his best means it's probably not going to happen. So she was like, you better be there for dinner. Be at the house. Your kids are going to be there. They are married. They have 2 kids. And I have a feeling I know who one of the kids are off rip. But we going to see if I'm right. But yeah. So despite how he feel, he going to have to make every effort to be there, because she's going to be very unhappy if he's not. LC called Bernie, who is, the Jewish man, to talk to him. And he received news that he didn't know about, which was that, they had a late night actually rescuing Sasha. So he was like, oh, really? I expect everything went well. He all fidgety, acting all crazy. And I'm like, I'm going to need for LC or somebody to pick up on this foolishness and just kill him, because I done got tired of him. I'm sorry. But anyway, so he was like, well, did you give any thought to my offer? despite everything. And he was like, like I already said before, yes, the offer is tempting, but this is something that belongs to my family. So he was like, okay, well, what if we double it to $2 billion? He was like, as tempting as it sounds, I got to pass. And so he was like, but what I can do for you is to give you that 300% increase of heat that you've been asking for. He was like, well, yeah, I guess I ain't got no choice. And he hung up in his face. He's so mad. Y'all, they are reopening all of the locations where heat is being produced, right? Orlando just announced to everybody that, because of everything that happened, they are upping everybody's salary by 20%. And so somebody asked the question, because they straight up told them, like, because they are so far behind on production that everybody's going to be pulling 2 shifts. And so he was like, somebody was like, okay, so will we be compensated for that? And he was like, even though I just gave y'all a 20% increase, yes, anything over 8 hours, you will be getting time and a half. Any other questions? No, all right, then bye. And so old girl who was supposed to be over the lab, she done rolled up on him and was like, okay, so what would you like for dinner tonight? And so he was like, it doesn't matter to me as long as it's dinner for one. And so she's like, what are you afraid of? It's not like I'm gonna report you to HR or something like that. Like what is we doing? And he was like, I already told you I do not mix business with pleasure. She ain't really trying to hear that. And he is just like, you know what? Give me a call later on and we could talk about it then. So she was like, okay, that's more like it. Man, he called Harris over there to him shortly after that and was like, after I leave here, shut this place down and fire her. And find another place, ASAP, another spot. I was like, oh my God, wait a minute. So Salt and Pepper Bay done rolled up on the dude that's like over the Chinese connection of all of this and was like, so Mr. Duncan felt like you needed a new ride and something else that we was throwing in. And he had like totes of heat loaded down in the back of it. And so he was like, okay. Then we see Senor Cruz back in somewhere in Spain and somewhere. And he had somebody rolling him. And then they go to like this shed storage place or whatever. And he knocked on the thing with his cane and he unlocked it. Man, that thing has so many totes of heat. I don't even know. I can't even begin to count how many things of it was. When I tell you Marco did like this, like, ooh, it really was. You could have been looking at the sun. That was how much heat was in there. Totes loaded down full of heat. And so ended up getting a call. Harris ended up getting a call from him. And he was like, tell him that Senor Cruz is very pleased. And he was like, okay, I'll pass that message along. And as soon as he got off the phone, he get a call from Sebastian. Sebastian to set it off. He was like, why is it that I'm hearing that everybody else has got a shipment of heat and I haven't gotten anything? What's going on? He was like, first of all, you don't talk to me like that. He'd have cussed him out. And as soon as he was on the phone with him, Orlando ended up walking in the room. Y'all already know that Orlando and Sebastian are not cool with one another. They always bump heads. And so he let him know that he was the one on the phone talking trash. And so he answered the phone. And so he done went off. He was like, okay, what's going on? Everybody else that got this shipment. He was like, first of all, you'll get it whenever you get it. We Neanderthals, we take a long time, whatever. And so I'm kind of interested to see how it's going to go. But at the same time, I thought he was going to get off the phone and immediately call Rio, but he didn't. He called his women and told them to pack a bag because they was going to New York. So he's going to show up in person to try to figure out what's going on. He need to go somewhere and sit down because it ain't like he was lacking. Sasha is in the room with Elijah and she's talking to him. She's holding his hand, hoping that he regains consciousness. And she's like, you need to come back to me. We got a chess game we got to finish. And so it's like he kind of comes out of the state that he was in. And he was like, you really want to lose that bad? And so she was just like, oh, has like a sigh of relief. And so they start talking. She tells him that he's been shot. And like he has a moment of like, wait a minute, what's going on? And I think he was asking about old boy who was, his right hand. And he was like, he's okay. let him know that Xavier's still on the loose. And so he was like, that's not good. He's not a well man. And she was like, yeah. So she told him that her family is out looking for him. So until then, don't worry about that. Get your rest. So I'm here for it. Shoot, I wouldn't mind nursing somebody like that. He is fine. I nurse him back to health too. She right there. Well, Harris and the twins rolled up on old girl in the lab and told her, I have something for you. And had a big old fat yellow envelope that was overflowing by the bus open with money. And so she's like, what is this? Then she opened it up. She was like, what is this? A bonus? And he was like, no, it's your severance pay. And she was like, severance pay? What are you talking about? This place just opened up. Like, that don't make no sense. And so she over here trying to pitch a fit. And he is like, she was like, I'm going to have to talk to Orlando about this. I'm sure he would not be happy about this. And so he was like, who do you think sent me? And so she was like, you know what? F y'all, F you, whatever. I'm going to call him. And he was like, okay, you can go ahead and try to do that, but I'm pretty sure you're blocked. She tried to call him. He was like, yeah, you're hearing little beeps, aren't you? Oh, okay. So I advise you take this severance pay and go on about your business. So she was like, I'm not going anywhere until Orlando shows up. And so he was like, okay, do what y'all do. So the twins, he was like, go ahead, show her how to leave. This heifer left the money and they, saw her out. Harris was like, who wouldn't want this? And he put like a stack of the bills in his pocket. And then he, gathered up the rest. I was like, sir, you are doing a lot. Elsie had a meeting with Brother Minister, and he just wanted to know if he knew about the whereabouts of Xavier. And he was like, no, he is a pariah. And the Brotherhood is no more. And everybody who actually is still living that was a part of the Brotherhood under Xavier's leadership, they now work for him. Like they are a part of his flock, congregation, organization, whatever you want to call it. Because like I told y'all before, Brother Minister is into some things. So anyway, he was like, okay, well, let me know if that changes, if you find out anything. Everything is going all right with the family. They are trying to find him. And, they're not going to stop until they find him. And at this point, Brother Minister is convinced that since he is not around, that he has fled. And so he's no longer a threat. And so Elsie is like, well, I'm hopeful that he is. And so he was like, well, I know that you have two of the brothers. And, what are we going to do about that? Because, he was like, well, how do we know that they aren't going to actually aid in what he has going on and try to help him and still try to get back at us? And so he was like, I don't think that's going to happen, because they actually helped to get your niece. They turned on him to help get your niece out of there and to save her life. So I can go on ahead and give my verbal, answer and let you know verbally it's not going to happen. And if they do somehow end up acting like they want to be dumb and jump bad and want to sit up there and jump ship and actually go and help him, I'll kill them both myself. That's my word on that. So he was like, okay. So he was like, well, until next time. So Elsie made a point to get up and, said his goodbyes. And while he was like 2-3 steps away from him, he made a phone call and told, I guess, Harris to put $100,000 bounty on Brother Xavier's head. And I'm like, okay, that's going to be incentive for, if anything trickles down the grapevine, for him to let them know something. So I feel like he put a little bug in his ear just a little bit, because he stayed there and said that in front of him. I was like, okay, cool. Well, old boy, who I think he's a part of the Mexican cartel, he was one of the ones who was helping. He was in the middle of screwing Consuela, I guess. I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Consuelo done behind. She's a bed wench at this point. I'm just like, girl, you're willing to be a bed wench in order to not be killed by your ex. Do what you do, I guess. Do what you got to do. Desperate times, call for desperate measures. he got interrupted by one of the people who, he runs with. And he was like, we got a shipment. He looking like, you interrupt me to tell me about a package? He was like, nah, it ain't that. We got re-upped on the good old heat, and they actually added a 50% increase to it. So he was happy about it. He was like, okay, I got to celebrate. So his celebration was going back into the room where that heifer was to screw some up. So there was a meeting that happened in Mexico between Senor Cruz, Alejandro, and Alexander. Alexander wants a seat at the table because he wants to buy all of the heat that Senor Cruz has. He done walked in the door calling the man by his first name, and he had to correct him off rip. He was like, my friends and close family members are the only ones who are allowed to do that. I don't know you like that, and you are. And he had to he had to let him know who he was. So for whatever reason, every time Senor Cruz was trying to talk to him, Alejandro kept trying to speak for him. Like, he kept on interjecting, and he clearly was looking directly across the table at him, and Alejandro over on the side talking to him. He was like, okay, what is going on? Do you have a battery in your back? Why are you speaking for him? I want him to answer these questions. So then he let him know what he wanted, and he was like, for the record, I speak for myself. Look, Marcos was like, look, I don't want nothing to do with what you're talking about. As soon as you walked in the door, I already knew that you were the type of person that I do not want to have any business with, don't want to do any business with. Get out, vamanos. So he stood up and he was like, well, for the record, just know that you might be a big deal here in Mexico, but I'm a big deal all over the world. And let's hope that our businesses never cross paths. And he left. Woo, child. So that happened. And I was like, oh, y'all, I already knew this was going to be a problem. So Orlando was in the middle of screwing some heifer when he thinks his daddy calling. Well, it's not his daddy. It's the heifer who was over the lab. She and her feelings because they ain't together. This heifer was under the impression that they were boyfriend and girlfriend. And I'm like, girl, when did this happen? Y'all were screwing. Y'all were screwing, and that was it. Like, I don't remember him ever saying, you are my woman. I don't understand what is going on. But anyway, she was like, I am smart. Don't worry about how I got this number. I am smart, and you should have thought about all of this before you sent your bodyguards to come and manhandle me. I know how to handle men like you. And so I don't know what she's going to do. I don't know if she's going to go to the police. I don't know, but they're going to have to kill this heifer. But yeah, she doing the most in her entire life. So Sebastian rolled up on Rio at his club and wanted to speak to him privately. So he went to talk to him, and he was like, what's going on? I ain't got my shipment. You know, this must have been serious for me to come in. I didn't even announce the fact that I was coming. I have a lot of stuff going on. I need my shipment, whatever. Rio to set up here and gave this fool a whole suitcase full of heat. And he was like, as long as I get the money for this, my parents and, Orlando is not going to worry about where it went. He ain't going to care about where he went. And that I'm just going to let him know that I need another shipment. Yeah, he done left up out the club, got into a limo, vehicle, car, whatever. Guess who in there? He has hand-delivered heat to that wife, Dominique. This is Alexander's wife. So the wife had to come in, do the dirty work, and get it done. I'm tired, y'all. This is the most that's going on. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this recap review. I'm going to try to come back with the last episode in a few minutes. Y'all have a good one. Bye.